Poland's government has reinstated a number of Supreme Court judges, whom it had forced into early retirement. President Andrzej Duda formalized the move on Monday, meaning that a third of top judges will now be reinstated. The government controversially lowered the retirement age for judges earlier this year, forcing many to quit, in what critics said was a political move by the ruling Law and Justice Party. The EU's top court ordered Poland to suspend the application of the law. Critics said the law helped give law and justice political control of the Supreme Court. The PiS has already appointed the majority of judges to the Constitutional Tribunal, which has the power to veto legislation, and also controls the body that nominates all judges in Poland. It argued that the reforms were needed to remove judges appointed during the communist era and to make the court more efficient. The European Court of Justice's ruling in October was requested by the European Commission, the EU's executive arm, which argued that the reforms undermined the rule of law because they gave the governing party political control of the judiciary. On Monday, this decision was upheld and President Duda had until midnight to decide whether to comply, but the government had already agreed to scrap the law, saying it respected the court's decision. We are members of the European Union, and we will abide by European Union law, the head of the PiS, Yaroslaw Kaczynski, said last month. The Supreme Court law, which lowered the retirement age for judges from 70 to 65, was introduced in July and triggered widespread street protests. More than 20 judges, about a third of the total, were forced to retire but will now be able to return to work. Opponents had feared the PiS would use the law to appoint new judges loyal to the authorities. One such opponent was the head of the Supreme Court, who refused to stand down and argued that Poland's constitution guaranteed her the right to serve a 6-year term. Chief Justice
Mal-Razil
branded the reforms a purge. The conservative government denied the accusations and argued that the country's judiciary had not been properly reformed. After the end of communism in 1989, the ceasefire in Yemen's war was broken minutes after coming into effect. Pro-government officials say the warring sides had agreed for a truce deal to be implemented in the port city of Hodeidah at midnight local time on Tuesday. But there have been reports of sporadic clashes between the Houthi rebels and pro-government forces in the city, which is a vital gateway for aid. The rebels have reportedly shelled government forces in eastern Hodeidah. One pro-government official told Dep news agency clashes were ongoing. Both sides agreed to the ceasefire at United Nations-sponsored talks in Sweden last Thursday, and some hoped it would be the starting point to bringing nearly 4 years of civil war to a close. But the truce was delayed on Friday, following reports of strikes and fierce clashes. Hodeidah, 140 kilometers (90 miles) west of the capital Sana'a, was Yemen's fourth largest city and a major economic hub before rebels took control of it in late 2014. Since June, it has been under assault by a Saudi-led coalition backing the pro-government troops as a port. It is also a lifeline for just under 2/3 of Yemen's population, who rely almost entirely on imports for food, fuel and medicine. More than 22 million Yemenis need some form of aid, and 8 million do not know how they will obtain their next meal. The Yemeni mother of a dying boy in California is being prevented from seeing him due to a United States ban on visitors from her country, the family says. Abdallah's son was born with a brain disease that doctors say he will not survive. His relatives say his mother wants to see him one last time before they take him off life support. His father says the boy, his mother, cannot come to the US due to the Trump administration's travel ban. Though Abdallah and his father were born in Yemen, they are American, says the family. All she wishes is to hold his hand for the last time. The boy's father, Ali Hassan,
22,
told the San Francisco Chronicle on Sunday. He said the boy would probably die if he is taken to Egypt, where his mother is currently living. Mr. Hassan's wife, Shima Swilh, is currently seeking a waiver from the US Department of State to travel to the US urgently, soon after he took office. As President Donald Trump imposed travel restrictions on mainly majority Muslim countries, the executive order went through several versions before being upheld by the US Supreme Court this summer. It bans nationals of Iran, North Korea, Venezuela, Libya, Somalia, Syria, and Yemen from entering the US. Swilh, from the Council on American Islamic Relations, which is advocating for the family to be reunited, said boring Abdullah's mother was unfathomably cruel. Mr. Hassan's family came to California in the early
1980s,
but maintained close ties with their native Yemen. His son Abdullah was diagnosed with hypomyelination, a brain disease that has affected his ability to breathe. When he was 8 months old, the family moved from Yemen to Cairo to escape that country, a civil war. About 3 months ago, Mr. Hassan brought his son to the US for treatment, with the expectation that his wife would later join them. But after doctors in Oakland, California, informed him that the boy's condition was terminal, the family applied for her to travel to the US. They say they received a rejection letter from the State Department, citing the US president's travel ban. A State Department official, who did not wish to be named, refused to discuss the specific case due to confidentiality laws. But the official told the BBC they make every effort to facilitate legitimate travel by international visitors. We are also fully committed to administering United States immigration law and ensuring the integrity and security of our country's borders. Hungary's public broadcaster, Madva, has become the latest target of demonstrators angry at the government's controversial new labor law. Protesters took to the streets for the 5th consecutive day to object to what they call slave laws. Earlier, 2 independent MPs were thrown out of Madva's headquarters after they tried to broadcast a petition against the measures. Since they were forcibly ejected, other opposition MPs have taken their places. New rules mean companies can demand up to 400 hours of overtime a year and delay payment for it for 3 years, though that is disputed by an MEP from the governing party. At least 10,000 people rallied in Budapest on Sunday around a large-scale anti-government demonstration in Hungary, where Prime Minister Viktor Orban's policies enjoy widespread support, despite repeated condemnation from other EU nations. The government says the labor reform will benefit workers as well as companies who need to fill a labor shortage. In a video shot by a local activist, the 2 MPs thrown out of the TV station could be heard shouting in protest at the security guards during the scuffle, as well as opposing the new labor law. Protesters are also calling for an independent judiciary, independent public media, and for Hungary to join the EU Public Prosecutor's office. The protests have been led by trade unionists and students. Both flags from Hungary's far-right Jobbik party, as well as anti-establishment by Fox masks, could also be seen in images from Monday evening's protests. In elections earlier this year, the Prime Minister's Fidesz party won a 2/3 majority in parliament, making it relatively easy to enact his policies. The government says the laws address a serious labor shortage. The country's unemployment rate at
2%in2017
is one of the lowest in the EU. Hungary's population has been in decline for years. As deaths outpace births, according to the European Statistics Agency, Hungary is also experiencing a brain drain as well-educated people take advantage of free movement within Europe. The problem is serious enough to have prompted a 2015 program to encourage young people to return home. Author in Housing and Employment Support, Friedrich George Schopfling, told the BBC the reforms had been heavily distorted by the opposition. There was no coercion involved in working overtime, and workers would be paid monthly, not in 3 years.